Hey guys, what's up? It's Chase Jarvis, founder and CEO of Creative Live. You all know that we have more than 2,000 classes and more than 10,000 hours of learning, inspirational, and motivational content on the platform. I'm super excited to announce a new experience on Creative Live. It's called Fast Class. You've told us that you're busy and sometimes it's hard to dive into a full class from start to finish. So essentially, we're now giving you a shortened highlight version of our top Creative Live classes. You can always dive into the full class with 5, 10, or 15 hours of great content. But now, if you're just looking to focus on a few of the highlights or want to be able to skip quickly to something that really interests you, you can now get a shortened fast class version of that class. We're also thinking this might be able to help you explore a new craft and save time while doing it. This is a great tool to curate your learning experience to help create the life that you seek. So you're probably thinking, great, how do I access this new experience on Creative Live? That's easy. All you have to do is be a subscriber to the Creator Pass, and then all this is yours.
Hi, and welcome to Creative Live TV. Today, I'm your host, Kate Dessa. It's nice to see all of you guys here watching, and we're really excited to bring you a much-needed lesson in at-home haircuts. Today, we have celebrity stylist Bradley Leake joining us from his home in Los Angeles, and he's going to not only walk us through how to cut your hair at home, but he's actually going to have his partner, his fiance, do it for him. So not everybody is as lucky as his fiance Dustin to have a hairstylist that lives at home with them. So Bradley is going to instruct Dustin, who is a chiropractor, has no experience cutting hair, walks through his step-by-step tutorial so we can help you guys fix up your hair so you can be looking fresh at home. So let's welcome Bradley onto the show today.
Hi,
hey, Bradley.
Hi, Kate. How are you?
I'm great. How are you doing?
Hanging in there, bored at home like everyone else.
So tell us a little bit about yourself. I know Bradley is a dear friend of mine. He used to be my hairstylist. He helped me transition from dark to this blonde that you see now. And so I know he is an incredible hairstylist, but he has a laundry list of celebrities that he's worked with over the years. So tell us a little bit about yourself, Bradley.
All right. Well, my name is Bradley Leake. I am a hairstylist. I have been working behind the chair for over 10 years. I have lived in Los Angeles for 4 years, and I currently work with celebrities and industry talent. for TV shows, photo shoots, red carpets, and I also do salon house calls, as well as have a little studio that I work out of at home. So I get a little taste of it all.
So who are some of the celebrities that you style?
I've gotten to work with a laundry list of amazing people, but I currently work with the cast of Vanderpump Rules, and I have also worked with a few of the housewives, as well as some TV Netflix actors and actresses, such as Chrishell there. She's on a show called Selling Sunset. And Dr. Pimple Popper on TLC. She's amazing. Sandra, stunning. There's another photo of Chrishell. And then Hannah Godwin from The Bachelor is one of my dear friends and someone who I've created some fun looks for. And yes, as I mentioned, the cast, there's Brittany from Vanderpump Rules, and I know she's a dear friend. I work with her often. We can go to the next photo there. There's some more of Brittany. And the rest of these girls here coming up are, Stassi, Ariana, Katie, and Kristen. Vanderpump Rules Bravo is a guilty pleasure of mine, and they're currently airing their latest season. So it's been a lot of fun to look back at all the looks we created last summer and watch them come out.
Yeah, and so I know that you styled Brittany for her big wedding, and that was a huge project that you did, and you came up with a lot of really cool styles. I know that you also did her hair for her cover of People magazine, which was really cool. So what is it like, working on a reality TV, but also doing hair for really big events like someone's wedding and, cover shoots like that?
It's a lot of fun. It's something different every day. Big events, there sometimes is a little more pressure, a lot more eyes are watching. But overall, I love it. I'm so grateful that I made the transition from working behind the chair full time to coming to Los Angeles. And I work with so many amazing people that it makes my job.
Cool. Yeah, that's amazing. So now, okay, today, so we are all ended at home, and we've gotten lots of comments of people struggling to know what to do with their hair. So we wanted to bring you on and give you a chance to give us a little tutorial on what you would do. You do to keep just upkeep, but what do you recommend people do in general? Should they just let their hair grow and wait for their stylist, or if they're really feeling like they need to freshen up, what are you suggesting people do in this weird time that we're in?
Well, you are correct. Times are weird, and I will say every personality and every hair type is different. So, for those of you that maybe have a little bit more of a low maintenance haircut or hairstyle, I would highly recommend leaving it to the professionals, not taking it into your own hands. However, I do completely understand right now more than ever, it's challenging to find little things to be excited about when so many fun, exciting summer plans are being canceled or postponed. And so sometimes a little root touch up or a fresh haircut at home can do just that. And so if you're someone who really has a low maintenance hairstyle, I definitely think a little cleanup at home is something that anyone can do with a little patience, a little practice, and definitely making sure that you're both on the same page, because now is not the time to get stuck at home with a bad haircut and be mad at your significant other. So, know relationship, know your hair, make sure you're not getting yourself into a situation you're going to regret. But for me, I have pretty low maintenance hair. It's just a little long and a little shaggy right now. And so I am going to bite the bullet for you guys and let Dustin take a snag at my hair so I can be in your shoes and we can all go through this together.
All right, that sounds great. So why don't we introduce Dustin And then we can get going on. Hi, Dustin. Nice to see you.
Hey, nice to see you too.
Chiropractor.
All right.
Know a lot about hair, but he watches me do it often, and I'm confident he's going to do a good job. And I am going to let him cut my hair a little shorter than normal to give him a challenge. So we'll see how he does.
All right, sounds great.
All right, guys. So to get into this, am I okay to go ahead and break through the
do it?
Okay, so the best way that I like to work making it easy at home is we're going to separate the head into zones. And so the edges all around the perimeter here are going to be zone 1. This midsection here is going to be zone 2. And that's going to be great for kind of blending this top section, which is going to be zone 3. And most people like to wear this section a little bit longer. So that, for me, I'm one of those people. But if you're not someone who wants to wear it longer with a scissor, you can use guards. So to get into it, our first section here is going to be the shortest guard that you're going to use. And we'll make it really simple. This is a clipper. And this is a guard. I'm using a number 2 guard here. And you just clip it on, just like that. There's a little lever here on the side that you can adjust to make the blade longer or shorter. I don't know if you guys can see that very well. It just gives a slight little taper. So this little lever here on the side is a great one to use at the end if you need to blend between the first section and the second section. All right, are you ready?
Yeah, are you ready?
I think so. All right, so I'm going to turn to the side here, and Dustin, you're going to stay stationary, and I'm going to just kind of rotate in a circle here.
Perfect.
But to start, we're going to kind of work in a diagonal section here because this is going to allow us to blend evenly. So take it away. Starting at the bottom here, you can really get in there and push. Okay, I'm going to be stop. And as you can see, we started to take a little bit off there.
I can definitely see the shorter sideburns right now. So I'm most interested in figuring out how to blend because I'm gonna like put a hole in the back of my husband's hair.
So a diagonal is definitely a nice and easy way to make the blending easier. But you're just gonna work in that zone all the way around the head with your shortest guard. And I like to use the occipital bone, the part of your head that sticks out the furthest, as the guide to kind of stop that shortest section there. That's the kind of going to be the guide. Everyone's head's a little bit different and shaped a little bit differently, but that is my go-to. So we'll take that guard and just finish out all the way around. And Kate, feel free to ask any questions if you can think of any.
I think often when I'm like, I'm just scared I'm gonna hit my husband's head with the clippers. Is that possible? I have no idea. But it just seems intimidating to put a razor up to somebody's head that I don't know what I'm doing. So is it possible to hurt someone?
It's pretty foolproof. If the guard is not put on and locked on there correctly, then it can come off, which can create a little bit of a challenge. It would create a little hole there. But to be honest, as long as you work kind of in this diagonal section and you are, mindful of how quickly you're going through the process, you can't really mess it up.
Okay.
But I do want to mention, there are so many different hairstyles and types of hairstyles out there, and the shorter the guard, the more tough it is going to be to blend. So generally, I recommend going between a 2 and a 4. and it's not too tough. But the shorter you go, the tougher it's gonna be.
All right.
Check it out.
So we're midway through, and it does look a little scary. You know, it can kind of be a little bit of a process if you're looking at yourself in a mirror during that first phase. But we're getting there. Like, see, my sides already look more polished up. I feel like my face looks a little slimmer. I'm feeling better about myself during coronavirus, which is important.
All right, I have another question for you. What does it mean? Is it lowering or raising your ears? Like, what is the sideburns? When you go to a barber, you're supposed to keep your sideburns at a certain like height within your ears. Is that true, or did I just make that up?
No, yeah. So generally, I think, like, you know, they'll have you like smile because they don't want to go through, and you don't want to go hot above, and it makes it look like your ears have like a big hole behind them. So It's just important to keep your facial structure forward, and you just want to keep it very minimal. You don't want to go too high in there. That's something that's important, and we haven't went around the perimeter yet. Usually we'll clean that up at the end, but that is when it can get a little tricky.
Okay.
Less is
always see.
Less more. I always say, when you're trimming up the edges, unless you're an expert and really know how to get in there and blend and fade with a comb and tools, just brushing through the perimeter of everything is the way to go.
Okay, good to know.
All right, so guys, that is zone 1. And what I'm going to do to help myself as well as Dustin, and this would probably be helpful for those of you at home, is I'm going to take a water bottle here, and I'm just going to spray down the top section of my hair that I want to keep a little bit longer. So that way he knows, and that way I know what is there. So just spray that down a little bit. You don't have to go crazy. But now that that's kind of wet, it gives me a guide. And if you have really long hair, you can clip it off just to kind of separate the edges. Also, if you have colics, the back of your head, I have 2 colics that kind of stand up, and that can be not such a fun thing too. If you're someone who always has bedhead in the morning, you probably have a colic there. So for us men, if you take those too short, it can be a problem if you have a hairstyle that's not supposed to be messy and textured. So those are a few things to think about and look for before you get in and start going too high into these next sections.
And when you're working with a colic, are you like trying to push in the colic goes, or are you like, you know, when you're trimming the colic, I guess? You
want to work with the direction of the colic, but I think the most important part is that you don't cut it too short. If you cut, usually they're on the top, the crown of the head. Occasionally people will have them at the back of the neck, but for the most part it's at the top of the head or in the front of the hairline. And if you take them too short, especially if they're at the crown of the head, it'll just kind of stick up like alfalfa.
Okay.
So, if you're someone like me, I have 2 colics, and I let that work with my hairstyle. So you can use it to your advantage as well. But here we are. We're going to get into the next section here, and I'm using a number 4 guard. So this is actually 2 sizes up from the first number 2 that I used. If you are someone who wants to go for a little bit more of a short style, you can blend up from a 2 to a 3 and then do a longer guard up on top. But I want to keep my top longer, so I'm going to scissor cut that, which is why I skipped a length in between.
Gotcha.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, and so will you just walk through the different guards? So as the numbers get higher, that means that it is going to be longer, correct?
Yes, so as you can see, there's my kind of setup here. And I have a variety of guards there. And the shorter guards are at the bottom. And so one or a half guard is going to be the shortest guard. And then the longest guard is going to be like a level 8 or a 9, which, will create almost just like a really long buzz cut.
Gotcha. Okay. Thank you. Yeah, totally.
All right. So, water bottle fell over. Whoopsie. So now here we're going to use the next guard, which is a 4 for me. And again, we're just going to work in a diagonal, blending that up. Can you bring the camera really close?
Yeah.
Does that help?
Yeah.
How you feeling, Dustin?
It's cutting. You're getting some ink off.
That's great. I was ready for a little haircut.
It looks a lot better. It looks less choppy already, though.
Great. Yeah, as you guys can see, it comes together.
So Dustin, how much pressure do you feel right now cutting Bradley's hair, given he's a hairstylist? And you're on right now.
Luckily, I feel confident because he can fix anything I mess up.
There we go. Okay. All right.
Well, I can try to.
And he's a good coach.
These clippers are not fancy clippers. They're probably about $60. So you could order a pair of clippers on Amazon or online. It's honestly, I wouldn't say that any brand is going to be super more beneficial than another. The biggest thing is just making sure that it comes with guards, and generally they usually also come with little scissors, which will be helpful as well. All right, guys, we're getting there. So here we are at kind of a crossing point for a lot of people, right?
That's what this feels like. I'm worried about this part.
So this part is called the blending phase. And this part, I will say, when you're not a hairstylist, seems very intimidating. And it can be very intimidating, but I think the biggest and most important thing is that you use a light hand and you don't go too far in there. I have special scissors here that, because I'm a hairstylist and because I'm a professional, not everyone has these, but these are texturizing shears. And these are helpful. If you do have texturizing shears at home, I would highly recommend using them to blend these edges. But I'm on you guys' team today, and I'm not going to use my texturizing shears. We're going to use just normal shears because not everyone has them at home. So if you guys can do it, Dustin can do it too.
Let's see how Dustin feels about that.
Never not use the texturizing ones. That's what makes it easy.
The texturizing shears are a little more foolproof because they're not completely eliminating all of the hair. But using regular scissors, what I would recommend is to come in to the long section and hold it out vertically like this. Right?
Okay.
And coming here with a scissor, you're just going to gradually just point cut into that. Can't really see if I'm doing it or not. But yeah. So
one thing I'm noticing right now is you're coming at it from a perpendicular rather than vertically.
So
which is not what intuitively I would have thought.
Right. And that, I will say, I think is a big component to making sure that it's soft and blended, and so you don't end up with all these lines on the side of your head. Because I'm sure if this is your first at-home haircut, that is your concern, and it is a rightful thing to be nervous about, but it's just hair, people. So Dustin, I'm gonna have you come over here and get in here. But yes, as you can see, I'm going through vertically, not like that.
Yeah, okay.
So all you're gonna do is take a vertical section and just work your way around and point into it to blend it through. I like my hair a little bit messy, so it's not gonna be 100% perfect. And gentlemen at home that are watching, don't be too critical on your significant other. They are not a professional, so I do think it's important to know, like, if you're someone who is used to getting a barber, like, super refined, super, super, super tight fade, like, just let your hair grow, throw on a hat for, those video calls. Don't get in a domestic dispute about this haircut. It's not going to be worth it, I promise. But I'm low maintenance, and I'm confident that Dustin can blend me up a little bit here, so I'm going to make him go for it.
Okay, so we comb out.
So you can comb it out, and then you're just going to take a vertical section, and you're just going to, just point, cut into there. The deeper you go, the more you're going to take out, obviously.
That wasn't that bad.
See? There you go.
He's just waiting for you to say oops.
I think if you are someone with curly hair or someone with wave to your hair, I think it's important to keep in mind that, it's going to shrink up. So if you're pulling on it with your fingers, that's going to take off more weight than if you were to do this same technique with like a wide tooth comb.
Okay.
To blend it. Everyone has kind of a different canvas, just like they do with skin, and everyone's hair type and texture is a little different. And so it's important to kind of work with what you have and make it work for you, I think. For me, I have very straight hair, so a little bit of like a texturized pieceiness on top is okay. If you're someone whose hair is really fine and short, I would recommend, honestly, getting a long guard, and just going over the top of it. Save your wife the trouble of the scissors.
Check out that side. What do you think?
What do we think? How are we looking? I can't really see.
Looks pretty good.
I think
Yeah,
it looks good. I'm impressed, Dustin. No products in there yet or anything? Not too bad.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's come through this side. So right here, this side, right here.
Yeah.
There's like a little puffiness. See that?
I'm gonna do that side still.
See, so he hasn't done that side yet, so that's why. That's why it's not always good to have a mirror in front of you. Look at you. You look like a professional.
Is that how you do it?
Do you want to go? Could you cut it on this side so they could see? There we go.
The comb does help piece it off.
And do you always recommend doing this type of haircut with clean hair or dirty hair, or does it matter if you have product in your hair, anything like that, Bradley?
Say ideally no product. Can you hear me, Kate?
Yeah.
Okay, so I would say ideally no product, but clean or dirty doesn't really matter if you're not someone who puts like a lot of gel in it. But I personally like to cut on dry hair.
Okay.
I think dry hair tends to give you the most accurate end result while you're doing it. You're not going to have as many surprises. Sometimes when it's wet, it can you can take off a little more than you thought you were taking off. How are we looking back there?
I think it looks good.
You're impressed with yourself?
Uh-huh. I like it.
Well, that's good because really you have to look at it.
Okay.
All right, so that's zone 2, blending with the shears through the side here.
That was easier than I expected.
Good, I'm glad to hear that. I think for the front, it's important to note for people to, again, come in and point cut into each section. Do not chop it.
Okay.
That will result in your hair not looking good. I'm deciding what I want to do. I don't know how, I think we're going to cut a little bit more off the front of my head here just to give you guys a little, I'm already looking a little scary up there, so why not, right? So I'm going to take a little more off the front, but I think otherwise he did a pretty nice job. It's blended through. As you guys can see though, where it's shorter down here versus where it's longer up through here, the edge is a little more see-through at the bottom. So I think that's what's important for you guys at home to note. If you have, or if you're going through a really short guard, the blending is gonna be a little tougher. So he's gonna come through and blend me just a little bit more through the side. And then I'm gonna cut a little bit more off the top, but overall, this is the gist of my specific haircut and style. But if you do want to take the top shorter, you could easily put on a longer guard, maybe like a 8. And this would give you a really, really, really long buzz cut. But what's nice about it is that it still has a faded style. So as it grows out, you're still going to have some shape to your haircut, right? Everything's not going to grow out all at the same length and at the same speed. So that's a great way to hold you over between now and the next time you see your stylist.
And when you're cutting the top like you're about to do, are you like attempting to cut all the hairs at the same length, or are you like generally you're kind of cutting them at different lengths to kind of blend it out?
Yes, I personally like my top to look a little more disheveled and piecey. So I am not cutting them all the same length. Also because I have fine, or what I like to call skinny hair. And so if I cut all mine the exact same length, you would really see some of those defined lines. But if my hair was quite a bit longer and I really wanted to take a drastic amount off, you could give it a blunt cut off and then texturize it.
Okay.
Point into it, as Dustin is doing.
That's it.
Yeah, so I think that is the gist. I'm gonna come through and I'm just gonna do a little bit more off the top here, but I think we're looking decent. This is a quarantine haircut. The only person who's looking at it is Dustin, so that's okay. I think overall, the important part to remember when it comes to blending and everything is like less is more. You can always take it off, you can't put it back. That's my rule. Yeah. Little product in there, and my top would be done. I'll go through now and show you guys really quickly doing up the ears and the neckline, because that is kind of the last and most important step, I guess, of cleaning up the look. Dustin, you want to come? So this is a trimmer. Most men probably have these for your beards or for whatever. It just has a little bit more of a shorter blade on it that's going to really come through and take the hair super short. There's no guard, so it's going to just clean up all of the edges.
And is that something that comes with the clippers, or is that something you have to buy separately if you don't have it?
It just probably depends on the type of clipper that you get, but I do know there are clippers out there that do come with one. There's also it's called the Peanut. It's a little mini guy, but it's really, really good too. So you could check that out. All right. So my rule with the sideburns is I usually like to keep it right at the top of the ear. So
Okay.
it's not too bad right there. So he's just gonna give it a little.
So you down or up?
Down.
Down.
As you guys can see, he did have to move my ear, but I think it's important to know that you're not gonna pull it down. You're just gonna fold it.
Because if you pull down too much, then you're creating that kind of gap we were talking about earlier, right?
Exactly. And then you're gonna look like you like have a big old white hole right there above your ear, which isn't gonna look good. You're gonna be wearing your ball cap for a minute.
Let me see the back.
That looks good.
It's
He's confident. We like that.
even.
Perfect. So he did an amazing job, but the professional in me is going to come and just do a little bit of what I like to call refinement. And I'm going to do that using a wide tooth comb and my scissors. And this is called a scissor over comb technique, where I'm going to just kind of gently bring the scissor up and clipper at the same time, just to kind of blend. Okay, so I'm gonna do that really quickly, and you guys can kind of follow along for the process. But the important part is that your hands and the comb are moving at the same time, the whole time. See that?
And do you have the scissors like is the comb supporting the scissors as you're pulling it up?
The comb is mostly, to be honest with you, it's protecting the hair. It's creating that line that's kind of going to make it so that I'm not cutting too much off.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So let's see if I can position myself here so you guys can see. And I can see. Can you guys see that okay?
Yep.
And what this is doing is just taking off any edges that might be on the sides that maybe the clipper didn't get or that we missed. It's an easy way to go through when you look in the mirror and just like refine it to look a little bit better to your face shape. So that helped a little bit.
Yeah.
Maybe one more little spot here. And this is something that I think, again, like less is more. You can go over the same spot 2 or 3 times if you have to, but if you start out and you're like, you know, an inch or a half inch deep into your hair and you go and try to do that, you're going to take off a lot more hair. So this is just, I personally like to use this for just like the edges.
Makes sense.
Yeah, this is kind of the gist of the haircut. And then I'm gonna have Dustin come over and do the other side for me.
Do you have any recommendations for, I know Dustin's right-handed, is there anything weird that left-handed people should think about when they are cutting their spouse or partner's hair?
Everything would be relatively the exact same. It would just be, you'd be working on the opposite side. I would say, yeah, the left-handedness really wouldn't make a difference. As far as any of the techniques, everything is relatively simple. But when you do go to one side of the head, it can be a little trickier than the other to navigate your hands, to feel like you're doing it and having it flow.
Like right now.
Right now. Yeah. So do you have any advice for them, Dustin, while you're doing that? Or questions you can ask me of where you're struggling, and I can.
I guess because on your left side, it's always a little like, I feel like I'm like.
Well, I mean, spin it. You can spin me. I'm trying to think. What do I do differently? Not really a whole lot.
Okay.
I think the important part is that you just keep the scissors and the comb moving completely. And also don't go too high. I think that's an important thing to keep in mind. You still want to keep in mind that this top section is still, usually it's where your hair, I like to go back where you're receding. That is the top section where you generally don't want to go too short through there.
How's that?
Looks great.
A little more right here.
Any questions, Kate? Anything?
We just got a question from Facebook that is asking if you have any recommendations for people that are by themselves actually and don't have a helper. What recommendations you have if you're trying to do this to yourself?
Okay, so my recommendation doing this to yourself is the blending part, especially in the back, is really hard. If you're using like multiple guards because you can't scissor cut the top. So if you're trying to do this on yourself and you still want to have a faded look, I would do the same techniques using zone 1, 2, and 3, but I would solely use guards. No scissor cutting. Does that make sense?
Okay. Yeah, totally.
If you the result is going to give you a little bit more of, I would say, a shorter style, but you will still have, depending on the lengths of the guards, a little bit of a tighter feel here with, a shorter but longer version of this cut up top. So it'll give you something that at least will grow out nicely. But requires blending and technique, so on your own, you're not like quite so stuck.
And what advice do you have for us when we get out of our house? What do we tell our hairstylists if we have given ourselves an at-home haircut?
No. Be honest. I would say the biggest thing, I think, is that everyone is going to be eager to get back into their salons and their beauty routines because we've all been stuck at home. And so I think, now we still have a few weeks, maybe send your stylist a little note and say, I hope you're hanging in there. What's your schedule like? I'd love to get on your books for when you're going back. Plant that seed so you can get in the chair and be on the top of their priority list. But I think with the hairstyle, make sure that you're not doing anything too drastically different is the key to making it through this. Or if you are doing something drastically different, go for something that's low maintenance and that isn't going to cause a domestic argument.
All right, that's amazing. Thanks so much for letting Dustin be a guinea pig for Dustin. I think you really gave everybody.
There's no domestic here. I'm happy.
There will be no disputes after this, huh?
No, not here. But I think haircuts at home really are relatively easy. I especially think for moms out there with little kids with summertime coming. Sometimes going to the hair salon and spending the money and the maintenance is a lot. And so I do think, now while we're at home and we've still got 3 or 4 weeks and everyone's out of school, this is a great time to kind of try out these looks. And I will say practice makes perfect. Everyone is going to get much better at it the more times you do it. The first one might not be so beautiful, and that's okay. No one's judging you but yourself. And maybe your neighbors if your kids are playing outside, but at least for the next 3 or 4 weeks, everyone has a little bubble to hide in. So
that's very true. All right, well, now we have a couple questions, on some female hair maintenance.
yes.
If you have suggestions on how we could clean up our dead ends or how to manage color, like somebody like me, I am obviously naturally very dark and have light hair right now. So
Yes.
it's starting to get a little brassy. And what do you recommend for people who have colored their hair and how to maintain it? And then us women who might be getting some split ends and dead ends, and what do you recommend for us?
So I will say, I think self-care right now is super important and something that everyone, I often, and as well as I'm sure many people at home, I'm too busy to find time to do things for myself. And right now, more than ever, we have more time, especially at home. So the deep conditioning treatments, I think, are great for helping split ends for those of you that really do have great, nice hair and don't want to try to be cutting it. I wouldn't recommend doing an at-home haircut for most women, only because unless you have a very, very, very low maintenance hair routine or low maintenance hair, honestly, unless you have fine skinny hair, it's very easy to get into a haircut and think, oh, it's good. And then all of a sudden you're in it and you've taken off more inches than you thought, and it takes a long time to grow back. But
so
deconditioning.
Don't recommend the ponytail haircut that everyone is seeing on YouTube, which is, throwing your hair up on a ponytail and then just chopping off the ends, which I think one of my closest friends just did, and I haven't heard how it turned out, but that's what I'm seeing on YouTube is like, just throw your hair in a ponytail and just like chop off the ends.
No, I think, I think if you do have a low maintenance hairstyle, doing what I like to call like a micro trim, dusting the dead ends, I know for some people sitting at home, they're playing with their ends, they're picking them, and that's not good either. So having your ends fresh is nice, and I think it can be low maintenance to just go and clean them off, but I wouldn't recommend doing, again, anything drastic. I think my most important things for people at home right now, at least with hair health, are give yourself a break from heat styling and shampooing. Like if you're not going anywhere, you're working from home, let's try to get those shampoos down to like once a week. Let your natural oils in your hair give your hair a little bit of love. You can, if you do have coconut oil at home, that's a great at-home treatment you can do through your ends and just make them hydrated and a little shinier. Giving your hair a break from all heat products, I think, is great. And then I know you were mentioning color, and that is a big thing I have been getting a lot as well. For those like you that are blonde, 1,000% do not color or try to color your hair at home. You spend way too much money and way too much time, but everyone's hair is so unpredictable that what I could, or not myself, but a formula that you might take for your hair might turn out completely different than it would for someone else with blonde hair. So I think that is very important to know. I think purple shampoo is a great way to maintain or to eliminate yellow tones and to kind of provide a little bit of a refresh, I guess, if you will. Also, there's a gloss out there by an artist. Her name is Kristen S. And she is a celebrity stylist, and it's at Target. But it's basically a toner at home that you can purchase that will last 6 weeks. But it's basically just coating the outside of your hair. So it can tone your hair out. If you're a redhead, it can make your red feel a little more vibrant and refreshed without actually doing anything to the inside of your strands, which I think is important because for us professionals, once we get our hands back in there, if we don't know what you guys have put on it at home, that can make things a little tricky.
Understood. I have not touched my blonde hair yet. I know that my hairstylist would not be pleased with it.
However, I will say, Color Wow here has a great root cover up. And what's amazing about this is not only does it cover gray, but you also can touch up your highlights with this. So if you're a brunette and your highlights are grown out, or not a brunette, but if you're naturally dark and you wanted to like touch up your money piece or the hairline when your hair's back in a bun, using a temporary powder like this is great because it's not going to come off with water or with sweat. It's only going to come off with shampoo, but it can kind of touch everything up so you don't look so bad on those Skype calls.
Okay, great. That's a good thing to know.
Yes, and they have multiple shades, so they work great for brunettes or anyone with any shade. But I think temporary options are 100% the best way to hold yourself over between coloring between now and going back to your stylist, because hair color is tricky and can be a lot of work. And let's be honest, all of our stylists are going to be super, super busy after this. And so the last thing we want to do is go in and create more of a headache for them or ourselves.
Totally. One other question is that you mentioned coconut oil. Do you have any, a lot of us might not have access to go and get some new products to help us. Do you have any recommendations for like at home, like olive oil? What type of things that we might already have at home that are good for your hair that maybe people don't know about?
I would say incorporating a lot of proteins like fish into your diet is a great way to give your hair some health and some love, because a lot of your hair is made of vitamins and proteins. If you don't have a great mask at home, I've read up all sorts of, mayonnaise. You can do mayonnaise with egg and olive oil and create like a deep conditioning mask for your hair. I know apple cider vinegar can be a great way to like cleanse and to like give yourself, your scalp, a little bit of a treatment. But I would say my biggest thing is, doing a product like coconut oil, but giving yourself a break from styling and just letting the natural oils, whether it's coconut oil or olive, I don't know for sure if olive oil, I don't know if that's, I guess it would be the same. Yeah, it'd be hydrating, I guess. But any sort of those products that are going to just give your hair some love. Also, again, I think if everyone takes a break from the heat styling for a month or two, you'll be really shocked at how nice your hair will feel too. And then everyone can get those blonde highlights and be ready for spring.
Totally. All right. Well, thank you so much, Bradley. Let's just talk about what you do again real quick so everybody knows. Where can we follow you? I know you're Hair by Bradley Leake on Facebook and Instagram. I know you also make really amazing hair accessories like the one that I'm wearing right here.
Look at that no grip clip. Getting grip clip.
So, he has all sorts of really cool accessories he's making. Tell us a little bit more about your website, the other stuff that you're doing, and where we can follow you and where we can come and ask you questions if we end up messing up our spouse's hair.
I know everyone is probably a little stressed at home thinking about cutting their significant other's hair. So if you have any questions, feel free to hit me up. I'm on Instagram at Hair by Bradley Leake. And as Kate mentioned, I do have a hair accessory line. It is basic_b_beauty on Instagram and basicbbeauty.com. And we are, a new online hair accessory business. We're making custom pieces. Brittany actually from Vanderpump Rules wore one of them in her wedding, which was so awesome. It's super fun. It's a great way to be creative and come up with new, fun, trending pieces for everyone at home that are affordable and cool and available to purchase. So check it out.
Cool. All right, Bradley. Well, thank you so much for joining us today and giving us this little tutorial. It's really nice to see you, and your hair looks amazing. I think everybody got a really good look at how and what we should do when our husbands break down and ask for help. So I will I know my husband is expecting me to help him very soon, so I will send you a picture of how it turns out.
Yes, I feel confident, and I hope you feel ready to do it. And yeah, if you guys have any questions, let me know. But I was so great chatting with you, Kate, and thank you guys so much.
All right. Well, thanks again, and tell Dustin he did a great job.
I will relay the message.
All right. Thank you. Bye.